They do. It just seemed, it was a fun thing it was a fun next step from the magazine, I think, to have a record label as well.
Michael and Matt, what was your inspiration to start your label? Was there any soundtrack you bought and said, I can do this?
I wouldn't say I do anything better. The score that made me fall in film music was Batman. And
You guys just split out.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we've come. I've personally come full circle. Having been able to work on that album and release the complete version of it, and go back and release some tracks that's never been there, alternate tracks and such. But as far as us starting up the company, it was a frustration more than anything else. I had been working at GMP Crescendo Records for years, and we had tried to get them to tap into the soundtrack market more so than they had been, particularly with Paramount and Star Trek and such, and they just didn't seem to be interested in it.
Yeah, Michael would tell me, because we were friends, before the label, and he would always have these stories about, these guys are turning down this, or this company doesn't want to do that. And it just seemed, it really, what happened was, I was working development for a couple producers, and, film stuff, television stuff, and they were interested in pursuing, maybe putting out some soundtracks. They kind of wanted to have their fingers in all kinds of different things. And I said, well, my friend works at Crescendo, maybe we can get together and start a discussion. And that discussion led to that first Numenorian, Dark Crystal, and I think, what was the other, Day of the Dead,
Night of
the Living Dead, right. And then we just decided, well, there's no reason why we can't, try and do this, and kind of do it on our own terms, the way we would like to do it. And raised an extreme small amount of capital, and just, I think Uncorked was the first one.
Yeah, it was Jeff Dana's score that Jeff wanted Crescendo to release, and they had no interest. So it was like, well, let's try to do it on our own, and it was actually a really good seller for us.
Yeah,
surprisingly. And then we
Thanks
just
to you guys.
we just moved on from there and got out 3 the first year and 10 the second year.
Yeah, it's taken
8 years
been
later.
8 years to get here.
Yeah, we've done. I think we're going to end up doing like 50 this year. So.
No, good. Back to Tyler. Tyler, the way I think things are going, I don't know if CDs are going to be around. Physical CDs are going to be around in about 10 years, but somehow I have the feeling that soundtracks might be one of the few genres left with physical soundtracks. Do you think it's a good thing that the tangibility that soundtrack fans like so much, opening up the CD, going through the booklets, might be gone?
Well, we like to hold something in our hands too. I mean, I have a ton of records now. I grew up with records. I still love that feeling, and I think that people who are into music, and it's not about the periphery, like the pop cultural aspect or connection of it, get into it too. And so there will always remain some sort of physical release. I mean, I'll be very happy when CDs are gone, because I think they sound like shit. I always have. They're convenient, but they're unreliable, just like DVDs are unreliable. I think that there's going to be some sort of mutation in the distribution, and there will be a way for people to have a physical product, because as long as people want something, it'll be there. But it doesn't make sense for a lot of people, because people just want a digital download, throw it on their iPod, whatever. But of course, we're always going to be making cool shit. We're just going to make it cooler, because CDs actually rob real fans of music. That whole packaging, in my opinion, all the artwork has to be, conceptualized as this small. So like great album covers have sort of disappeared. Now it's about catching someone's eye amidst 400 little boxes on display. It's a little bit different. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not claiming I know exactly where that is, but CDs aren't going to stay.
What do you think, John?
That's a great question. I'm with Tyler. I think one of the things I love is to, I still like getting a CD, and I still go on Amazon. If I'm, quite frankly, if I'm going to be doing a new film, and they attempt it with Tyler or John or any of us here, I'm probably going to go on iTunes and pull the music down, and make my own little CD, and I listen to it in the car and kind of, okay, that's what they've tempted the movie with. But that's a far cry for me from for instance, the beautiful book that the guys at the end did for Predators, that Dan, you were kind enough to do the liner notes on. 20-page book, and there's something still great. I agree with Tyler. Now, yeah, CDs aren't the best sounding things, but they are what we have right now. And I still like opening the CD and looking at the packaging and reading about, what the director says and what Ottman's, it is fun. So, I'm not a big fan of it. iTunes is a quick, immediate way to get your fix, but I agree with what
Sounds
Tyler
like crap
said.
also.
It sounds like crap.
Bass sounds
By the
terrible.
way, iTunes, I don't know if anybody's made any money yet on iTunes. So I still like that idea of somebody, and thank you fans, I'm sure we all agree, thank you guys for buying a CD, and maybe we sign it, but I still like that. I like the process.
Don't get me wrong. I like stuff. I just think the CDs are going away.
Yeah, they're going to go.
I could see a jump drive being in there before long or something of
No,
that nature.
I'm sorry, do they suck because of the bit depth, or?
They've never sounded good to me.
Well, what does sound good?
Vinyl sounds better. And the reason is because the way you can master vinyl records, you can saturate.
Yeah.
You can go to tape and hit it a little hard and saturate it. So like things like drums and vocals have a sound that it's just not that way anymore. There's a two-dimensionality to recordings now where it used to be 3 dimensions, in my opinion. I thought the bass was handled much differently, and that the spatial aspect of music, in my opinion, was more interesting. I think it's been good for some classical music, but when you're talking about really complex hybrid stuff, especially jazz, I think jazz sounds much better on vinyl.
Tom, your sample dude, what do you think?
Well, I live in the Matrix, so I don't like stuff. I don't like carrying stuff. I don't like hoarding stuff. I like it all to be digital. There's this Mia track that came out a couple months ago, got a lot of attention. It went up on our website because it was pretty controversial because it had to do with the way that people are discriminated against. Instead of using Muslims, they use people with red hair. And I don't know if anybody saw that video, but the track was great. And that's enough for me as a, that to me fulfilled the holding something. And then I actually bought that track as a result of that. So I think I certainly have one foot in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it seems like the bigger issue is that the record industry has basically gone south because of digital download. I mean, that's the big issue. It's affected the quality. I mean, I don't know how many artists I know who don't put out albums anymore because they can't make any money. It costs money to put out albums, pay players. So for me, I think it's tragic that there's less music being made because people are downloading stuff for free. I can go on a BitTorrent and see all my music. I'm sure everybody here has done the same thing. You can go get
Nobody here has ever stolen music.
So for me, that's a huge issue.
I never have stolen music. Never. I've paid for every single piece of music that is
I
in
haven't
my
either.
house.
That's a whole other discussion. There's a generational thing with that because I totally agree with Dan. I mean, the moment an artist can't make a living at their art, why, it's like, all right, fine, then you do it for passion, you do it because that's something you love to do. But, my oldest son is a rock and roll guitar player in a band, and they're doing pretty well, but I would agree, it's interesting, it's a whole discussion that probably way too long of a subject to talk about now, but yeah, it's disheartening for me. Dan and I talked about this before, that, for instance, a score that I've just completed and is going to come out at a certain point, and the next thing I know, it's people are downloading it for free, and I don't know. There's just something about it that is just so completely contrary to what I've been brought up thinking about. There's worth to music, there's worth to art, and you can do it for all different reasons, but there is a commerce involved.
There's no parallel between that either. Like with Radiohead, giving away their music. Obviously, they give it to you in a reduced bit rate.
Right.
And if you
Right.
want the album, you buy it. Most people ended up doing it,
Yeah.
and they play live, and they sell shirts and hats and anything else. As a film composer, you know, the budgets are pretty tough for a lot of people, and especially if you're doing any kind of a package. And most of us can't sleep nights thinking, oh, we're going to hold back some money when we can improve the quality of the product. So we put it all in there. We live for the back end. I mean, really. That's what it comes down to, because the front end is all about paying your overhead, the people who help you all along the way to
Fixing
produce
your
this product.
computers.
Absolutely.
Fixing your computers.
All this stuff. So I mean, it's just not the same. There's no parallel with film music and
Why do you break them?
pop music.
Because I just walk in the room and make things stop working.
Hey, Stu, can I borrow your stopwatch?
Oh, I have it. I still have that little watch. It still sits there.
Michael, what do you think, man? You're going to be sad when the physical product maybe goes away, becomes something else?
I don't think it'll ever really go away. It's a double-edged sword because the whole idea of downloadable music, especially for newer composers, it's an easy way to get your music out in the marketplace so that people will actually hear it if you can't get it released on a label. That's the upside of it. The downside of it is you get exposure, but